This is Ben, an executive chef that worked for some of the most prestigious restaurants around the world. You were making hundreds of thousands.
Yes.
And at the first glance, you would think his life was perfect. But that was just a lie. At home, it was a pure nightmare. And ultimately, he made the decision that would change everything.
You know, I didn't want to lose my dogs. I didn't want to lose the house.
You lost it all.
And I lost it all.
Since that day, Ben has had to survive, living out bad and expensive debt. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4 credit card debt. This video highlights the unspoken reality of our society, our systems, and the real truth on what happens behind closed doors. Welcome to Finance Action, the show where we take action. My name is Romain, and today I'm with Ben. Ben, how are you doing?
Doing phenomenal, thank you.
Guys, today is going to be a very exciting discussions as most of you viewers are interested about understanding how to diversify investments, how to play in the market and make your money work. This video is for you. Let's look at your profile. So you are 51 years old, you're originally from Michigan, you currently live in Las Vegas, and you work as an executive chef.
Absolutely.
Looking at the way you've rated your personal finances from chilling to Mayday, you rated yourself today as I'm okay, which is pretty nice to hear, but it's not has always been the case. What's going on?
From a young age, I grew up very poor. My parents, my father worked 15, 18 hours a day as a mechanic. I was never home. My mother was mentally ill. I had a lot of ailments physically as well. So she wasn't there. So I got bounced around to a lot of different family members, dealt with a lot of neglect, which as a chef is a bonus. Because as a chef, you need to go through a lot of stress. And so back in the day, I used to say that I eat stress like Cheerios. So there's a lot of yelling, throwing, screaming, hitting. I've been hit in the kitchen before, knocked down to the ground by an Austrian chef.
And so over that time, you've kind of gone through the levels, started as
a dishwasher at 14 years old. If I wanted anything when I was young, I had to earn it. So I started doing dishes, graduated to a line cook. And the first chef I ever worked for was a burnt-out alcoholic, which is also very rampant in the industry. But he had really great skills, and as soon as I saw that, I was like, that's what I want to do. And I focused my entire life on culinary arts and becoming the best chef I possibly could.
And that has earned you quite a bit of a strong financial situation. You were making hundreds of thousands.
Yes.
Just as a fun fact, what have been some of the craziest stories that you've seen in the kitchen?
I was working as a line cook in an Austrian restaurant, and we were making sauerbraten, which is a very large roast that's seared, then braised for a very long time. And Chef Schwager, he would use a meat fork all the time, and just to poke the meat, turn it over, so on and so. He never used tongs. He always used the meat fork. And so I wanted to be like Chef. So I grabbed the meat fork, and I stabbed the meat, and then I went to turn it over, and out of nowhere, he just came out, slapped me across the face. I ended up on the kitchen floor, and he walked away, not even a word. And I looked up at the sous chef, and I was like, what happened? I was just doing what Chef showed me. He's like, no. You stabbed the meat. He pricks the meat. And so, yeah, that's pretty intense. I can also tell you that I have no fingerprint on this finger because I cut it off when I was 16 years old. And instead of going to the hospital, what you do is get a hot pan and you cauterize it. I came screaming to the chef, chef, I cut my finger. And he's looking at it, he's like, well, you're not going to the hospital for that. There's nothing they can do for you. And he already had a hot pan on. So he said, look this way. And he grabbed my finger, stuck it onto the hot skillet, seared it. And so therefore it stopped bleeding. And you put a Band-Aid on it and you get right back to work.
So that was kind of the time of your professional work, but on a personal degree, things didn't go as planned. And before we dive into that, let's speak about planning for a second. This is why today's sponsor of the video is ClickUp. As you may know, this podcast is run by just two people, my editor Danica and myself, and we often go through over 40 hours of work for each of the video that you're watching right now. And so you're gonna ask me, Romain, with all those systems, how do you organize everything? Well, I use a project management tool that is referred to as ClickUp. ClickUp helps me in my post-production, organize my document, manage my task, and track my productivity. And I also use it as a content calendar. And I may choose here my YouTube channel as an example on how I'm using the system, but you can also use this management tool for any other type of business when you think about your side hustle, your small business, or your solo entrepreneurship venture. You can create a free account by using the link below as well as in the description. Thank you so much, ClickUp, for being a sponsor of the channel. And now, guys, let's get back to our story.
So the past 20 years, as a chef, I was a culinary instructor, worked my way in through Chicago, loved what I was doing, and when I came to Chicago, I got into a relationship, met this girl. She was a bartender, I was a sous chef, how those things go. We fell in love, she moved in, we got married. 20 years later, we just got a divorce. That's the end of that.
What happened that led to the divorce?
I'm very accustomed to dealing with abuse, neglect, and she was very abusive. I would say very narcissistic, very blaming of me for everything, even though I supported the household. And this is obviously just my side of the story. She's got an entire other side of the story, which I can guarantee is very different than my side of the story. But, I tried to leave about 10 years ago. We decided we're going to work things out. It didn't quite work out the way I wished. During COVID, we got to that point again, and I said, I'm leaving. And she says, no. I'll go to therapy. I'll do all of these things to save the relationship. And I gave her a year to get on the road, not necessarily get better, but get on the road to
show you that she's actually doing things.
That she's committed to me as much as I'm committed to her. And she never did any of those things. Oh. So about 2 years ago, I just put my foot down and said, I'm done with this. I moved down to the basement, unfurnished,
rogue style.
Very rogue style, spiders, but I would rather sleep with the spiders than with her.
Oh gosh. All right. Okay. After 20 years, it was that bad?
Yes, it was literally that bad. I would be criticized for everything. She would give me recipes off the internet and say, hey, this is what I want you to cook for dinner. And I would look at the recipe and it's like, that's not going to work. And she would, well, just cook it anyways. And it's like, but we should do this, this, and this. And she's like, no, just cook it the way it says. And it's like, all right. Now cook it. And then she would yell at me because it didn't taste great. It's like, well, told you it wasn't going to taste great.
What could you guys have done to make it work? If there was one thing that she could have done.
Be empathetic and see life through my eyes. Put herself in my shoes for a moment and understand the way that she degraded me was not how she was going to bring me closer to her. But by degrading me, it brought her to a higher level. And I'm sure a lot of people can commiserate with the fact that somebody who's really down in the dumps really wants to take other people with them so that they can feel better about themselves.
Okay, very insightful.
It was tough, but once again, I was very accustomed and conditioned to be able to, and that's why I stayed in the relationship as long as I did. Besides the fact that it's very hard and very brutal to get a divorce. Very expensive. I didn't want to lose my dogs. I didn't want to lose the house.
You lost it all.
And I lost it all. Yeah.
All right. And now we find ourselves at 52 with quite a bit of debt as well accumulated throughout. But it's not all over as we transition into our next segment, which is your income and your assets. So you work as an executive chef. How much does that provide you per year today in Las Vegas?
With all of my benefits, about $150,000 a year.
And that brings you about to around $8,000 or so net per month. Is that right?
That is correct.
Looking at the way that rates against your peer set in the United States between 45 and 54, the median, so 50% make more, 50% make less, is at 61,400. So you're definitely far above that, more than twice. But again, this comes from decades and decades of experience working in the field. Okay. Do you have any other source of income other than your salary?
Not at the moment. I do disc dyeing on the side,
Okay.
which doesn't bring in a lot.
Pretty much.
It's a hobby, and I sell them at disc golf competitions or online. But that doesn't bring in a lot of income. That's just a labor of love. Once again, I love doing it, so I might as well choose a hobby that I can actually make a couple of bucks at. And
Right. Monetize a hobby is not bad.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. So about 150. Okay, let's transition to your assets. So what is nice to see is you have a little bit of assets. First, I want to see here your checking accounts, pretty much your liquidity. You're showcasing a balance of about $10,100 and so dollars. Okay. But you don't have a saving account.
No.
You don't have a brokerage account, no investments other than a retirement fund with a total balance of $155,122. Pretty much 99.4% of which is invested into target funds. Vanguard Target 2040. So, and I will be speaking about my sense in our recommendation section as we think about optimizing your investments. But, there is a but. What's the but? 50% of which is taken by your lovely ex-wife. What's the reason behind it? How come she's taking 50% of it?
The past 3 years of our marriage, she did not work. So in the eyes of the courts, she is dependent on me. So therefore, she has no income. So therefore, I need to provide her income to transition into the next stage of her life. And this is just how the courts work in Illinois.
How much was the total amount of money that you owed her?
About $300,000.
This is more than you're worth today, huh? So she's probably worth more than you are,
Yes.
even if she's the one that hasn't been working and so on.
Correct.
Okay, what else has she taken other than the retirement fund?
The house. She's taken half of the house.
Oh, her half. Your half.
My half. Yes.
So she owns the house right now.
Yes.
Okay. How much is the house worth?
About $400.
Is there still a mortgage on it?
There is. There is about $100,000 left on the mortgage.
Whew. So she got $300,000 or so of house value, pretty much.
Yep. If she sold the house right now, she would have $300,000.
Okay. Anything else?
She got the car. It was a beautiful Mini, sports car, beautiful. She got all the furniture. She got pretty much everything inside the house. The dogs, once again, I'm a little bit bitter about the dogs. Really don't care about everything else. I'm out of there. I'm happy. It was when I left on my birthday last year, I was the happiest man ever. It was the weight that was relieved off my chest.
You didn't care about the money.
I don't care about the money. I really didn't care about the money.
You just wanted out.
I just wanted to be out. And when I left, even though, when I was going to the grocery store after I left, I had to go and get the cheapest things. It's not what I'm used to doing. I'm looking at getting, good nitrate-free hams and something beautiful, beautiful produce, so on and so forth. My budget was slashed.
Because you had alimony to pay on top of that.
I had to provide for her before the divorce was even final.
How much?
It came out to about $4,000 a month.
Ooh. Okay.
Which left me with $4,000 a month-ish at that time.
But you had to move and do everything new pretty much.
Right. And so I didn't want to get an apartment because I knew that it was going to be lonely for me.
Okay.
So I bought an RV.
How much do you spend on that?
I spent about $130,000 on the RV.
Ooh, brand new?
Brand new.
Okay. What was the decision behind it?
I didn't want a stinky old RV. I'm accustomed to something a little bit nicer in life, and I feel that I deserve it.
Okay.
And I'm being nice to myself, which is something newer to me in my older age. As I'm getting wiser, I'm realizing my own self-worth, my own self-value, and this was something that I needed to do for myself. And my son validated this as I was looking at other RVs. He's like, no. You don't want that one. Because I was looking at the smaller, like conversion van type things. So I got at the top of the line, Winnebago, Mini Winnie. And so that $4,000 a month went towards the RV payment, campgrounds, food, and there wasn't much left for anything else. So that's where I incurred a lot of credit card debts over the past year.
I see. Okay. We'll be speaking about that debt just a little bit later. But outside of that, well, that's pretty much the sum of your assets. Do you have any other form of assets?
Yeah, I do have a lot of disc golf discs, about 800 or so.
800 discs?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. How much are they worth each?
It depends. Some of the older ones, maybe like $10 each. Some of the newer ones, maybe $20 each. But I have actually probably about 200 that are in my son's storage, and those are all collectors, and those are probably worth anywhere from $50 to $100 each. So there's actually a good chunk of change just in discs that I have.
All right. So what's the value of your disc if you have to sell everything today?
Probably about $10,000.
Okay. So we'll record that. So today, assuming the value as well of the RV, but you have some debt to it.
Yes.
If you had to sell everything today, you have about $216,100 of assets.
Yep.
Now, that is assuming the 50% cut to your wife on your retirement.
Yep.
No more house, no more cars. But when we think about purely liquid at 51 years old, you only have $10,000 cash. And that's a little bit more worrying as we transition together into our next segment, which looks at your expenses and your debt. Let's start first with our regular expenses. How much do you pay for rent?
I don't pay anything for rent
Zero?
at the moment. Zero.
How do you pull that off?
I have an amazing girlfriend, Angelique,
Okay.
who I think you know.
That's right.
But we have a great deal going on. I pay for all of the food and dining out. I budget about $1,000 a month for that. She pays about $1,400 in rent a month. So it balances out quite nicely.
So $0 when it comes to rent and housing expense, but we have the debt of your RV. So I see you have $127,974 on this RV. Okay, it's worth, as I mentioned previously, about $120,000. So, you have about a $7,000 or $8,000 or so underwater on it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. The monthly payment is not the cheapest, but I'm actually surprised to see that it's over 30 years at an interest rate of around 9%. Okay, we'll account for that. That is your monthly payment to about $998. So that's pretty much kind of your rent.
Yep.
Right? So with great money management on your side, everything kind of together, that makes my life pretty easy. When it comes to gas, it's about $100, insurance $86. That brings your transportation expenses against your income at 15% of your income. We like it to be at 15%. Congratulations so far. You're doing great on this. In fact, given that this could be also a temporary home if need be, it's actually a pretty good deal given the fact that you're not paying for rent. Let's dive right in actually into your debt. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4 credit card debt. And let's rock and roll one by one. What is very nice to see, though, is that all of them, by magic, are at 0%. All right. So I see a Discovery card of $3,022. You are doing very heavy monthly payment of $650. But where did you get that expenses from?
Lawyer bills for the divorce.
How much was the lawyer?
All told was about $6,000.
Okay, not too
Excuse
bad.
me. No, there was more than that because we had a mediator, and then there was court fees, and pretty much everything related to the divorce went into the Discover card.
Oh, I see. Okay, so you're carrying a balance of about $3,000 or so.
Correct.
All right, let's move on to the next one. You have a Bank of America one with 11,524. Again, showing very strong recent payments of 2,100 per month. How did you get that balance from?
That was a down payment for the RV,
Oh,
as well as auto levelers for the RV, because I don't want to be leveling that RV.
You rather press a button.
Just press the button. That I splurged on that.
All right.
And as I said, I had to put a lot of, expenses on that just to rebuild.
Yourself, pretty much.
Correct.
Okay, I see another one. This one I see kind of regular activity. You have a couple pages. This is the one that you use pretty much for everything. It's Hilton card with a balance of 4,416. But again, on this one, you're pretty much paying it in full every month.
Yes, I pay it in full every month, so I pay 0% interest on it.
Okay. Excellent to see. We'll be diving into the specifics of the finance. And then I see a small one, 378, a city, but you're also paying this on a monthly basis.
That one is actually now paid off, and that's one that I split with my ex-wife.
Oh, you guys had the credit card together?
We did. She took half of the credit card debt. I took the other half of the credit card debt.
Oh, so she was fair.
She was very fair, as legally fair as she could be.
Oh, I see. So she took everything that she could to the extent of what she could.
Absolutely. Yep.
Let's look a little bit into some of your expenses. And what is nice to see is that, for the most part, you are also very frugal. Now I see, a little bit of expenses here and there, a little bit of gambling, the $20 here and there, but you have a strategy behind it. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Absolutely. So I learned this one from Angelique. If you're going out to gamble, we don't spend more than $20 on gambling, and we do penny slots, or you do the video poker at the bars, and that pretty much gets you free drinks. So it's a cheap date.
It's a cheap date, especially because you can stand there hours playing a cent per hit, and it's an entertainment pretty much.
Absolutely.
Okay, as I look into some of the rest, you have a little bit of gaming. You like to play on Xbox?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay, but that's, you're making $150,000 on the side. You have to enjoy life, especially now with your new partner. I think it's perfectly fair. I don't see anything a little bit of left, but I don't see coffees. I don't see, I don't see DoorDash or any of that BS. I mean, of course, we're generalizing with those shit type of expenses. Yep. You're just living a regular life, nothing too extravagant, which is glad to see. As we know, there is other type of expenses that you need to pay every month, which is wife alimony. How much do you have to pay for your wife? For your ex-wife per month?
Per month, right now, I'm paying $1,500 a month in spousal maintenance, or AKA alimony.
How long is that gonna be for?
So I need to pay alimony for about 4 years.
Okay.
The first year is $1,500 a month because we agreed that I would pay more up front to help her get on with her life. Help her transition into something that she can be fruitful at. And then for the next 3 years after that, I'll be paying about $400 a month.
Okay. So you're almost pretty much turning a page. That's it.
Yep.
Okay. I'm glad to see. We'll account for that as we think about your calculations. And looking at some of the rest of your expenses, again, I see a little bit of dining out, but that's part of the deal with your partner as well. A little bit of, attractions for your hobbies with discs. I also see that you have a pet. Do you have pet insurance?
Yes.
Hey, no way.
Yes, we do have pet insurance.
Yes. All right. That's good. I love that. Pet insurance is the way to go, guys. You know that if you've been following the show. Okay, but for the most part, everything is kind of pretty fluid. I don't see really any outlying things. Is there anything here that I'm not seeing from everything that you reported?
That's about it. It's pretty straightforward, and everything's in the budget.
No mortgage?
No mortgage.
No student loans?
No student loans.
When we look at the total amount of debt today, if we were to sum, you're looking at 147,314.
Yep. Of the revolving credit card debt, all of that will be paid off by November.
Oh, okay.
So I'll have an extra $3,000 a month come December, January.
Wow. Okay. Very good. That's excellent. And that's pretty much what you came on today, is to know how can you best invest that money to go as fast as humanly possible without being too risky. But today, if we were to sum and look at 51 years old at your net worth, you have $216,100 of assets, 147,314 of debt. That brings you at a net worth today at 68,786. But today, you're making an excellent salary. You're in really good shape health-wise, right?
Yes.
And so we're going to be looking together as to how can we bring our friend Ben into the right track when it comes to retirement, investment, and speeding up so that he becomes pretty much financially independent for the rest of your life. Let's move on to our next segment, the money case. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back today with probably what is going to be maybe one of the most important moment of your life, because I'm about to make you tens of thousands of dollars, and it's not a scam. I'm not even kidding. Guys, I'm about to open up on what I believe is one of the biggest scam that exists in the US economy right now. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, freaking Target Fund. Let me tell you why. When I look at your retirement accounts, I see, as I mentioned previously, 99% of which put into a Target Fund. Okay, so I'm going to tell you right away what that means. I think personally, and I'm going to be purely looking at statistics, okay? When you think about target funds, this is for the lazy bones of the world that don't know what they're going to invest into. They happen to select a risk profile that they want, which generally has very little variations between each of them. So here, I'm not sure if you're even moderate or aggressive. Nonetheless, let me tell you right away what the goal is of all of those institutions, like Fidelity, the Vanguards, and all of those in the world, is to make sure that they're able to return to you on average about 4% a year. Okay? That's the goal. More or less. They will never tell you that. They will tell you, we do this the most optimized. Look, they have obligations. Okay? They have certain portfolios, but for the most part, they are very risk adverse. And it's like, here, manage your money for myself, and please, I hope that I'm going to get a good return. Well, look, let's look at statistics for you today. Year to date, you've returned 3.56%. The S&P 500, year to date, has returned 16.08%. So any dummy that just invests into the S&P 500 would have already made returns more than 6 times what you've performed year to date. So this is a massive scam. And I encourage any person that is watching today that has invested into the stupid target funds to get the hell out of this scam and get your money invested wisely. Let's just speak numbers, okay? In your situation. If you were to not do anything today and just leave it the way it has been doing, looking at your performance since 2020 on this one, by the time you're 67 years old, you would have about, $146,000. That is if you don't touch your account and you just don't invest, you just let it go. If you said, I'm now able to take a hold of my investments, I'm going to invest into things that are generating money for me without costing me a bunch of fees or stupid target funds crap, you would be living at 67 with $359,000. So just by having our conversation today, my friend, I made you. Now, of course, I'm not always 100% guaranteeing return in the market, right? But I'm literally looking at performance for the trading decades of the S&P 500. If you invest purely in the S&P 500, today I've made you $212,000 by simply changing in 2 clicks your investment profile. And here we're not speaking about, crazy strategies. In fact, if you look at Warren Buffett, okay, one of the greatest minds when it comes to finances. You know what he says? He says, if I was to give money to my partner, or if I was to invest money myself, I would invest into two things: the S&P 500, VOO, and T-bills, treasury bills. Okay, treasury bills are contract with the government for a specific amount of time. You lock your money, okay? So right now, T-bills rates are about 5.5%, okay? And what that consists of, you can't use that for retirement, but I'm just giving you an example. We'll be speaking about this in your recommendation. Actually, I'm encouraging you to take some T-bills. What it is simple, guys. You're saying I have $10,000 or $1,000, okay, whatever the amount. I'm going to lock this money with the government for 1 year, okay? I'm not going to be able to touch it. At the end of that expiration, generally it's 1 year. Sometimes it's longer. It depends. You have T-bills, you have bonds, but in that case, T-bills. The government of $10,000 is going to give you $10,000 plus 5.5%, 550. Now, the good thing behind this is that you are benefiting from great tax advantages. You're going to pay lower taxes. I believe there is no local and state taxes from that type of income. Okay? So that is a very good and healthy way to invest because it's guaranteed money at a very interesting rates and you have very good tax advantages. But again, looking purely at stats and looking at the average return of the 401ks in our country for the past decades, it's 4.1%. So what I'm seeing here today, you're not the exception. Everybody's falling under this damn trap. So if at home you are falling under this, please take action on your investment. And I'm going to be speaking at it right away at what would I invest into. This is no financial advice. This is purely what I would do if I was in your shoes. Guys, this is going to be interesting. Let's do it. Number one, if I look at your needs today, right now, summing everything that you have to pay, assuming your alimony, your current very high credit card payments, which is nice to see that you're going to be paying very soon, you're at around $6,400, okay? That's 80% of your income. That's a lot. We like it to be below 50, but again, that is because a ton of which is going to your alimony and to your credit card payments. This is going to go down soon. Number two, your wants right now incorporating a little bit of dining out, your sports with your hobbies, you're around 770. Today, the amount of money that you should be able mathematically to save per month is $790. But again, here, I don't really care about that because that is going to be temporary. In a couple of months, you're done with that. Soon, you're going to have $3,000 to invest. All right. Number one, what I would do is I would increase the liquidity. $10,000 of cash at 51 years old is a joke. No, we can't allow ourselves such small liquidity. What I want you to do is to open what is called a high-yield saving account. And on that, you're going to go as fast as humanly possible after you pay your payments right now, after you take care of your credit cards and all of that, to $30,000. This is money that you want to have readily available, okay? What is nice about your work from what I'm seeing in the contract is that you're covered for so many things. You're covered with health, you're covered with life insurance, your life is pretty safe. But we never know what can happen, and I want you to increase your liquidity. While doing that, you're going to also be paying, as I mentioned previously, as fast as humanly possible, your debt, okay? All those credit cards, basta. I need you to rebalance your portfolio when it comes to your retirement, okay? Let me ask you this question. What is your risk profile? From 0 to 10. 10 is, let me freaking go. I'm going to put on meme coins and Dogecoin and all of that shit. 0 is, please, let me just put it in T-bills that is 100% guaranteed. Where do you find yourself?
Right now, I'd say I'm about a 6 or a 7.
A 7? Okay. Yeah. Just FYI, guys, target funds, it's probably a 4. Maybe a 5 if you've selected aggressive on your 401k. Okay? So what I would do, no financial advice, those are some of the positions that I really enjoy, and I've been mentioning those names over and over. Guys, don't come to me. This is just what I like personally. I will be noting all of this for you at the paper. I personally like VO. This is the S&P 500. I personally like QQQ. This is NASDAQ. Okay. I personally enjoy SPYI. This is a position that is a call options on the S&P 500. It's generally safe. It's a dividend play. All right. I enjoy some Vanguard technology like VTI and VGT. Yes, I'm paying a fee, but those are pretty well built. I have no problem going into this. And if there was one stock that I personally enjoy as a unit, it's NVIDIA. But again, a very low portion, because I believe that personally, from my research, no financial advice again, they are 3 years ahead of their competition, and I think this is where everything's going to happen in a couple of years. Okay, I think the stock has definitely grown like crazy recently, but I still think that there is so much potential, especially with the recent division that happened. Now, if you were to invest into a brokerage, which is what I'm going to encourage you to do at some point, I would also consider having a little bit of skin of game into crypto. Personally, to the amount of about 10%. That's what I like. 7% BTC, 3% ETH. Forget about mint coin or any of that BS. Maybe if you have $100 to spare, but you better play it at red or black at the roulette in Las Vegas or at your slot machines. Okay, and this is a bunch of shit. At 51 years old, we don't have to deal with that. So you're going to save money on liquidity. You're going to rebalance your retirement. FYI, I wouldn't put crypto into my retirement positions. Just to pay it. What is going to be also interesting is you are going to do what we called a backdoor Roth IRA. So you are past a certain threshold where you're not allowed by the government to put directly into a Roth IRA. Roth IRA, FYI, is the way to go when it comes to retirement. And I know sometimes in the comment I see, traditional has proven to be better. Well, guys, we don't know what is going to be the land of taxations by the time you retire. And I'd rather pay tax today than pay tax in 30 years. Actually, more than that because I'm young. But in your case, in 16 years when we don't really know what's going to happen. Okay? Maxing your Roth IRA is the way to go. So what you're going to do is backdoor Roth IRA, and how that works is you're going to open a traditional. You're going to do a non-deductible contribution that you're going to transfer to a Roth. And by the end of the year, you're going to form an 86 or 6 to the taxation to showcase that non-deductible contribution. So don't spam me in the comments saying that it's impossible. No, it's possible. I've done it and I do it myself. Okay, it's perfectly legal. So let me tell you a little bit about what's going to happen. If today you were to put $0 into your current traditional retirement fund, and you were going to put $580 per month, which is maxing out your Roth IRA every year from today until you're 67. The amount of money that you're going to be able to withdraw on a monthly basis at 67 is about $5,700, which is nice. But my friend, we do not know what is going to be the inflation at that time. Last year was 6%. The year before was 5%. So every year we are definitely increasing the cost of living. So to me, it's not enough. Okay, it's not enough. No, not anymore. And right now, personally, if you were to put $0 in your retirement fund, today you would be able to retire with $870 per month. You're not going to do anything with that, especially considering that you have a child that you want potentially at some point to leave money to.
Yes.
So what are we going to do about that? Well, you definitely have to max out your Roth IRA. And personally, I would not put any other money into a retirement plan. I would invest heavily into a brokerage account. Okay? You are not interested in real estate positions. I think at 51, you still have the chance to get into that. But the problem that you have is that right now your debt is too high. You're paying 9% on a depreciating assets. That is your RV. You're not making money out of this. On a very high interest rate, okay, you're paying thousands of dollars of interest per year for something that's not generating you money. So this RV, I'm personally not a fan. Was it the right time to do it? I will say no, mathematically, but mentally, I'm sure it was. Okay, you had to do that. So, will I sell the RV today? I would. I would sell the RV.
Okay.
I would sell the RV. You are just $7,000 underwater on it. I feel like you've gotten the experience that you wanted. But today, given your financial situation and the status that you're presenting yourself today, you are late. You're late in the game. But what's very beneficial to you is that your income being so high and your expenses and your cost of living being so low, just like frugal, you can catch the train, no problem. This RV is a heavy weight right now on your ankle that I wouldn't carry at such a high rate. I'd rather you shoot yourself in the feet for a little bit, but generating financial stability that is going to be beneficial in the long term. And this is not. You're going to lose thousands of dollars of interest per year, and you're going to lose thousands of dollars of natural depreciation for these assets that, again, you're not going to win any form of tax deductions or any of that. Now, if it was your full-time living today and you're living in it today, yes. But as far as I know, you haven't used it in months, and the first time that you're going to use it is this weekend. Okay? So are we okay to pay thousands of dollars for something that we're not using? No. Just bite the bullet because you have so many other opportunities that are open to you. Now, I'm going to provide a strategy that is not very well known. Okay? And that is what is called the rule of 75. Okay. So this is guy where we get a little bit more advanced. I'm not sure if this is going to be applicable to you, but this is something that's very unknown in the world of finance. The rule of 75 allows you to have early retirement benefits, okay, which sometimes consist of pension benefits, health coverage, life insurance, and bonuses. If, and I don't know if it's the case, you've been working in a company for more than 20 years, where your age plus your time within that company equals more than 75. Is that the case for you?
No.
Okay. Well, so I wanted to illustrate that for potentially people that are watching. If your age plus the time that you've been working in the company equals more than 75, go speak to your HR. There is tremendous amount of benefits that potentially be available to you. That's not the case on your side. So how do we wrap all of this up? Today, personally, I feel good about your situation, okay? Because you have proven that you can pull very high income and sit on a frugal managed budget. But to me, you still have deficiencies in the way you invest into your retirement. We're going to rebalance all of that. Into the way you've invested your assets, thinking that this could be rent on the depreciating assets. I would delete that. And in a way that you've been accumulated debt on high-risk debt, which right now is not costing you much, but that is because everything is good health-wise and you have no problem. If something was to arise, you have tens of thousands of dollars of credit card debt that can quickly flip on you. So as I continue and think about your strategy, I would target fast as humanly possible those repayments of those cards. You've done that. And really think about investing the vast majority of what you have into the market, into aggressive positions with low fees, and balance with a decent amount of liquidity so you can face the uncertainty. I wouldn't engage at this time into real estate positions. I wouldn't engage at this time into non-traditional forms of investments, such as a small business. And I would be fully focused on raising that capital as much as you can so that by the time you retire, at least the target should be for you to be able to pull at least $10,000 per month if you want to be comfortable, given the inflation environment that's going to happen by the time you come out. Okay. That's the thing. So there was quite a bit. Maybe I was a little bit over the place, but at least now you have an idea. And now I come to a question. Are you going to sell that RV?
I've been thinking about it for a while since it's been sitting in storage. Yeah, I probably should sell the RV. It's still in amazing condition.
I wouldn't sell it though before you pay your credit card debt.
Pay the credit card debt first, then sell the RV.
Yeah. Mathematically, it is better for you to sell the RV today. But we don't know what can happen health-wise. And I don't want you to take the $7,000 bullet in the feet right now and then stack up on tens of thousands of dollars of credit card debt that can quickly turn to 30% interest. Because this is the story that someone in your seat had. At 40 years old, she woke up, her life completely changed after a health incident overnight. That's it. She was stuck. So we need to take care of those high-risk debt as fast as possible. Even if right now you don't see the downfall of it. I've had countless of people here that have bet on that 0%. And then something arises and it flips on them. So sell that as soon as you've taken care of your credit card debt.
Okay.
Honestly, personally, I think you're going to be set. But you just have to play the cards right now. And today, I'd literally showcase to you how can you make $200,000 from doing nothing but just being active on your management of your retirement funds. Any questions for me?
I've got the game plan. And we're already enacting the game plan. Get that revolving debt out of the way. We'll get rid of the RV. Roth IRA. Once I start having that delta of the extra income after I've paid off my revolving, that all goes into investment. No longer going into credit cards, goes into investment. And then I get a suitcase full of cash, right?
Yeah, that you put into a high yield, $30,000, and this money will never move. Never. That's how you play the game. It doesn't have to be difficult.
Now, do I keep the 401k? Because my employer contributes to that as well.
Yeah, so I would personally, you always want to guarantee the match. So a match is free money. So if you match up to that amount, I would personally go just to that amount. I wouldn't go over.
Okay.
You have no advantage right now in going over at this time. Okay. Just hit the match. Max out your Roth IRA.
Yep.
And then play on the market.
Okay.
Do you have any final words as we wrap up our discussion together?
I just want to say how grateful I am for today, for the advice you've provided for me, because this is all very mysterious, and you've really laid it down for me in terms that I can really dig into, and I can understand exactly where you're getting at with this and how I'm going to benefit from this. So I just want to give you my deepest gratitude.
I appreciate that. As a token of appreciation and brand new, I would like to offer you the official merch of Finance Action, which is an iconic 1920s French coin that I've been wearing, guys, since the beginning of the show. This is an illustration of our discussion today. And every time you think about your budgeting or your retirement, you can look into this and say, hey, this is what I need to do. And then you will be thinking about our conversations together. Okay? There it is.
Thank you so much, Romain.
Of course. Guys, we'll be following with Ben within a couple of weeks to know how you've been doing and paying back some of your debt. If you're interested in Frenchie, this is now available below in the description. We really thank you for your time and for joining us along on this ride. We look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Until then, à bientôt.
Hi, Romain. Just want to give you a quick update on how things have been going since I was on your show. Since then, I have not sold the RV. I'm going to hold off on that until I pay off the credit card debt, which should be done in about 2 months. Once that's over with, I'll be investing all of that money into the Roth IRA, high yield savings account. I've already started on the investments into stocks and crypto, which is going very well. And my financial outlook for the year is looking very good, as well as my retirement outlook. Definitely going to be able to recover pretty quickly. So thank you once again for all of your great advice. Really appreciate you.